We've got some
Hey,
fresh new
I'm
young
Luis.
talent
And
doing some
I'm
things that I know
Luis.
you haven't
And you're
heard
listening to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to Content is Profit. Today, we are back with a banger episode. We had an event on Friday and we want to kind of chat a little bit about it. Fonzie is now here in the studio with me. Fonzie, tell us, you are in paradise, my man.
Yeah, I don't know if paradise, but I'm at the beach.
South Florida. You went a little bit south, speak Spanish a little bit better.
No, not really. This is a community of old people. So
Community of all people.
yeah.
But yeah, we're far apart today, but we're still committed to you and the content world. But anyways, Friday we were invited by our local university here, University of North Florida, to go and chat in their social media day. They do it every single year. And this year's topic, like a lot of it has been this year, is AI, right, in the content world and production. And we are able to give a little presentation, about 30 minutes on AI and how can we utilize it to save a ton of time and hopefully increase the revenue in your business. But there are also other experts in there that chat, put their point of view around AI. So Fonzie was there in the audience as well. What do you think? We know that you are not best friends with AI. But what was your take on the local events, right? It's very local, lots of local entrepreneurs, local people in there.
What did I think?
In general, where do you have any like one or two pieces of information that you really that it really resonate with you?
I think there's Jay, the last one that spoke, which is a very successful agency owner here in Jacksonville. I think I like his presentation the most, right? Because it was more about kind of like the state of AI, things that can be done with AI, possibilities, like how to use them, etc. Which, as much as I dislike to an extent AI, I thought it was interesting, and I do agree with him on the fact that you're going to have to leverage it and use it and learn it rather than just hate it, right? And then fall by the wayside, whatever. But something that I did notice with a lot of the other speakers is that it gave me this feeling, and I wrote this, right? It says it kind of feels like it's a race to become the AI expert. Prompts, how to's, what are the tools, right? And I'm reading verbatim what I wrote down that day. Makes me wonder how much AI is behind people's businesses. Do they actually use it as much as they preach it? Right? I don't know. I thought it was very interesting, like listening to a lot of people just kind of like sharing on the tools that they use and how they use it and all that stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think I would have liked to. I don't think nobody actually share a single stat on the use of this has decreased or production time by the X amount of hours, which has resulted in these other things, right? It was more like, yeah, you have Canva that will make presentations for you. I'm like, okay, well, like, why do, like, what are you using those presentations for? How are you leveraging that, right? It's, I actually came across this term today, which is very interesting, right? It's called tool first thinking. And the definition is, thinking that a single tool or an accumulation of it, when fully optimized for efficiency, will help you achieve more results now or in less time. And I think like a lot of it was kind of like tool first thinking, right? A lot of that talk.
Yeah.
In comparison to Jay, which was the last one again. And again, honestly, he's probably the most successful person in that room that day. Jay was more of felt more like a visionary, right? The way he thought about AI and the way he looked at AI. And it is here to stay, as unfortunate or unfortunate as that may be. But again, my main beef with it is pretty much outsourcing your thinking, right? For me is, sure, you can leverage AI to do some of the tedious, low leverage tasks. And honestly, I'm all in for that. But when you start using it to stop thinking, I think that's where I worry, right? Because what you
Yeah.
don't use, you lose. And that's a reality with your brain. All the information that you don't use, you lose. And if you're literally outsourcing everything that you're doing, all the information that you're coming from, like structuring, like doing the connections in your mind when you're writing stuff, like that is important. And if you're outsourcing all that stuff to AI, that's going to be a challenge, right? That is going to be
Yeah.
pretty bad, especially for expert-based businesses, consulting, right? And I know Jay in part talked about how AI can write better than anybody else, right? It's like, yeah, it'll write better than the best writer. But in my mind, it's like, well, do you need to be the best of the best, writer to be a successful writer, right? And in reality, is that no,
Yeah.
you need to be you as a writer and potentially do it consistently. And I don't know, I think for me, there's more value personally. And this is a conclusion I got after that. Again, I think AI is useful for low leverage tasks, right? And like repetitive, mundane tasks that, you know, is not going to help the person that is actually doing those. It's not moving that person, it's not improving the person that is doing that task either. Like, okay, well, let's outsource those to AI. But at the same time, I think there is value in the human experience of learning a skill rather than let me outsource this part for the other one. And again, I get there's cases for everything, because I can understand how a solopreneur, that is trying to just build a one person business and might require multiple skills, might want to outsource some of those skills to AI. Again, different scenarios. There's not like a one size fits all, and that is a challenge about it. But reality is that the technology is growing. It's just going to get way better, probably way scarier. That things are going to be able to happen. But I still stick to my prediction that we did, I don't know, probably a year, 2 years ago, which was that I think in-person events are just going to become way more valuable because people are going to seek connection. They're going to seek human conversations, right? Because it's going to get to a point where you will not know if you're talking to a human when you're online. You're going to be recording a podcast and you share with me, there's that thing you're going to share with here in a little bit that is mind blowing, right? But like, you're not going to be knowing if you're going to be talking to a human or a robot. And there's something, physiologically, whatever that happens when you're talking to a human, when you have that human connection, that makes it all way more exciting. So
yeah, I mean, just this weekend, you recommended us to go watch a movie, right? Like iRobot with Luca.
The Wild Robot, not iRobot.
The what? the what? What did I say?
You said iRobot, which is an old movie from, which is
the Wild.
iRobot is like where we're going. iRobot is what we're going.
Well, with the Wild Robot, right? Like the main character, like develops all these films, right? But it's all AI, and I kept thinking, I'm like, wow, like this is crazy because with Elon announcements of like the robots that Tesla is doing, it's like it can get, maybe that's it, maybe that's the direction. But like you said, obviously, right now the context of the conference was teaching small businesses how to leverage AI in different ways. And like you said, I agree 100% with you. I think it was like very tactically oriented, like how this tool will help you do this. But to Jay's point, and to us too, because we've tried how many AI tools, right, in our process, in our things, and we use I guess a layer of AI in some of the tasks that we execute. But like how many of those things are the business owners that attended that conference gonna go try out or maybe implement what they do? I think we need to look as entrepreneurs or content creators a layer below that and be like, what's our foundation? What are the tools that we currently have that we're good at, and how can we maybe use AI to leverage maybe sides that we're not that good at, for example, and at the framework base. And I think on my side, like the presentation, how we framed it was like based on the levers, and maybe if those levers are present to you, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can just Google 6 levers, these rows, and I'm sure the episode is going to show up in contentsprofit.com. but based on those production layers of content, like what are some things that we can use? And to me personally, a lot of those tools are things that I use every single day, and even with the prompts. But how can you elevate? And Jay said something that I really resonated with. I think it's like the next 10 years is going to be like the era of the generalists, right? The people that maybe do a ton at a decent level, because AI might elevate, that thing that you might not be as good as, that you might have to do for a certain period of time before you go and find somebody that's a really good, person that can go execute that task. But little examples, like just now we are just having a conversation with a previous Contents Profit guest, George Bryant, and he was telling me that he let go of having like this like crazy like awesome high production studio, and he's now in nature, and he's sharing his message from nature. But he also is a big fan of quality and like the way that content looks and the way that content can be presented, for example. So like a good example is like now we have AI tools that might enhance the audio that you record remotely, right? Or we have tools that might record remotely, and the AI engine will make sure that that footage looks really crisp and nice for the consumer on the other side, if that's something that matters to you. So there's like these micro things that happen also behind the scenes that we might not be very aware, but there are tools out there that can help you do that and create a lot of flexibility, right? Because if you are, for example, like Fonzie, which likes to be outdoors and likes to be on the road, and maybe likes to have a podcast van one day, right? How cool would it be that we have these tools to help us leverage and get our message across? It doesn't matter where we are, right? We don't have to be cooked up in a studio for 24 hours. I think another case study that they share in there was the way that we can, read and visualize data, especially with feedback. If we have like big data points coming for whatever your content strategy, your marketing strategy, your sales, right? This girl asked the question, like, I struggle looking at numbers, and I might not be the best at using Excel or sheets to put these numbers into reading form and understand that. AI is really good at something like that, where you can import like a CSV file, and it can help you visualize that data for you to make good decisions. So I think there's points, and as long as we identify where those areas are, where like we might be lacking some skills, I think today that's where we need to focus. And it's like, and like to your point, Fonzie, at the beginning of the conversations, like I didn't see anybody that really said, I use this tool because it saved me X amount of time and then it helped me generate X amount of revenue, for example. I think to your point, that's where people need to get started, right? It's like, okay, what is my inventory of time and resources, and how can I leverage maybe a couple of these tools to help me get to the next level while taking account of those results, to make sure that you can sustain it over time.
Yeah. I want to clarify, it's not that I don't believe that AI isn't useful. I do think AI is useful in a lot of ways, right? Like you mentioned the example of like the audio, right? With a click of a button, it can make audio sound super nice and crispy, right? And it saves you maybe, I don't know, $40 an hour with an audio engineer, right? Or even let's say $10 an hour for, somebody overseas to do it. Right? It is useful, and I do think there's going to be a big shift on the workforce, right? For this type of jobs, right? Again, you can edit a podcast in seconds, right? By pressing a few buttons, right? Of course, there's going to be some quality control, etc. So, like you said, it's probably going to shift to somebody that is going to be more adept to using these tools, understanding the process, because there's going to have to be quality control that is going to have to be done, and something needs to be fixed. The generalist, right, might need to possess a few skills to fix things here and there. So again, it's not that I don't believe that it's going to be useful. I think it is already useful in multiple aspects. It's going to be more useful in the future. It is going to shift a lot of work for many people. My thing is, again, for the thinking part of it, right? The people that are just like, let me chat in here, like, tell me 10 ideas about this stuff. Why don't you just go and talk to your customers, right? Like, why don't you go and talk to the people that you're trying to help, and like get the ideas from the people that need it the most, right? Because at the end of the day, like, is being trained on the same data, right? So it might not give us the same exact answer, but it might be similar, right? If I ask him for 10 problems and 10 headlines for a piece of content and you ask him the same questions, like it's giving us an answer probably based on the same data that it might be trained. And I might be wrong on this, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Feel free to send us a message and explain this a little bit better to me. But like the answer might not be exactly the same, but eventually, like if everybody's feeding from the same thing, like everything's just gonna start kind of like looking the same potentially, right? Um, Other things that they didn't mention in the event, which I know is going to improve, but is like ChatGPT has a memory, right? Like all these things have
Yeah.
memory, so like you can only feed it so much until it starts forgetting what you fed it, right? It's not like you're like, yes, let me train you with all this data. No, it's like after I think it's like 10,000 words, something like that, it like starts forgetting, right? Which given it's a lot of words, but just keep
Yeah.
that in mind. And then also it has hallucinations. So for me, it's a matter of like, well, like are people using this and taking everything at face value, and saying like, yeah, because ChatGPT said it is right, rather than still question the AI. So again, think yes, it is useful in certain areas. For me, on the expert base, let's say thinking realm of consultants, expert coaches, whatever, anybody that wants to build their own skill. I think that is going to be a little bit challenging. I know I'm a little bit gloomy on that end.
I mean, I think, as entrepreneurs and as content creators, I think we are about to face a fun era where we can experiment with a lot of things. But, a word of caution is make sure that you know what your framework is. Make sure that you know like what the baseline and the message and who do you want to help with, and then start identifying those areas, because there's going to be a ton of tools that are coming out. We see it every single day. The major players, like Google or Meta or OpenAI, obviously their platforms are being developed and growing. But as long as like you remain authentic to you, and I think that's the post I wanted to share from our friend Alex and Filippo. He interviewed Brianna Ansaldo, right? She listened to 200 AI podcasts, and a quote that resonated was like, "Without authenticity, it's just a bunch of noise, right?" And that authenticity, right, is not only on video or voice; is also writing. Like, so how can you bring that out and that human element, because it's gonna be almost like a luxury moving forward. So, based on that post too, as we close down the episode today, he mentioned that according to a study that they did on Podmatch and their platform, 1,700 known AI podcasts exist today, and this means fully AI hosts or guests. So he interviewed, like he asked a question, and 578 podcast guests voted. That 9.3% said that they'll be open to explore the idea about being interviewed by an AI podcast, but 90% said that they would never want to be interviewed by AI. And I think I'm right there too. I
I
don't
think
think
this is weird.
I want to. It's so weird, and maybe wants to see how
Yeah.
like how it reacts to the answers, but in general, right? Like I think this might be just people like testing the system and see if they can get something without doing the work. And also we have to be in alignment with our values for our business and our content creations are. So I don't think that aligns with me at all. But I think it's really interesting that our people testing it out. And I mean,
Yeah.
just watched probably a couple episodes ago where you presented this like audio reaction of AI, and I was completely fooled that it was a full conversation between two people.
Yeah. I mean, I
Um,
know this is obviously very subjective and probably reactionary, but I'm like, just the fact of knowing that a conversation was hosted by AI, I'm like,
yeah,
like that already makes me lose interest, because I'm like, again, like, and you've heard it, you are the brand, right? So
yeah,
if you build a brand around an AI, right, a machine, it's like, again, there's that lack of, like this lady said, authenticity, right, of connection, which I think why being able to prove that you're human, right, is going to be very, very valuable here in the future. But I don't know. Like again, I would try it. I would listen to a podcast that has been hosted by an AI. I would be open to being a guest on a podcast as the host is an AI. I think it would be interesting to see how it goes. If you can spot that the fact that it's an AI, how intentionally the AI listens to you, how intentionally the questions that they ask you are. I think that'll be an interesting experience. But just, and this is subjective again, very reactionary on my end, but like just knowing that it's an AI, it kind of like it's a little bit of a turnoff, like it's not the same if they tell me, dude, you're about to interview Gary Vaynerchuk, than if they tell me, hey, dude, you're about to interview an AI of Gary Vaynerchuk that has been trained on all his conversations that he has ever had, everything that he has ever posted. Like he literally has all the knowledge that real Gary does, or that all the knowledge that Gary has posted online has. But I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have, this is gonna sound a little bit silly, but I'm like, it doesn't have the heart that Gary does. Maybe it doesn't have some of those childhood stories, like those things that make him Gary. It's just a machine with a lot of information that maybe can rationalize certain stuff, but it's not the real deal. So I don't know. Is odd. Again, I'm open to checking it out. Maybe we have to find some AI podcast and give it a listen and get all freaked out. But I think it's for me is again the human connectivity, that heart. I think just being able, that's one of the most beneficial things that for me personally with Content is Profit, when we interview people, it's like seeing their heart, right? Like we've cried on the show, like and just knowing that you have that bond with somebody that is real, that AI might make me cry, but at the end of the day I'm going to be thinking it's a freaking machine. That machine probably doesn't even care.
You are crying because you're crying because you're crying because of AI.
They're crying because of iRobot is going to become real.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think obviously, all the thoughts are valid. If you are very pro AI and you like an AI podcast episode or AI full on content, let us know. If you are using it currently in your business, we would like to hear the case study and see how you're using it and how it's benefiting, maybe your team, your business, your bottom line. We're always open to these ideas at the end of the day, right? But I personally do think that authenticity is going to be scarce moving forward. And I think that's a skill that we all have to develop as content creators and entrepreneurs and business owners, because at the end of the day, people do business with business, right? People do business with people. Anyways, I think we have to hone that in and just focus on what you enjoy producing, right? We enjoy producing a podcast. We've said it 1,000 times. That's why this is our main form of content. There's a lot of people that enjoy writing, focus on that skill. There's a lot of people that focus on maybe a certain type of video production. Focus on what you enjoy creation, and then find the people or the tools to kind of fill in the blanks as you move forward in your process. But Fonzie, any last thoughts before we head out?
No, that's it. If you got any beef with AI, come join my group, my hate group, my AI hate group. No, I'm kidding. I'm looking forward to see where all this is gonna go, and of course, I'm open to changing my opinions and learning. I don't know. I think I value too much human connection.
Yeah. Favorite tool that you saw in there? Do you see anything that kind of resonated with you?
I mean,
you've seen it.
I feel like all those that they should, like, I feel like in a sense it was somewhat on the basic end of AI, the tools. I feel like we for the most part use them all. So not really. I don't think I have any.
Yeah. I mean, based on what Jay shared, and by the way, those that want to know a little bit more, Jay Owens, he's in San Agustin with his agency. He's been also a guest on the show, so you can just search Content Profit Jay Owens. I think Claude, I'm excited to try out. I'm a very big user of ChatGPT. I've used it almost every single day, assisting me with different things, but I'm very excited to check out Claude and see how good of a writer he is based on the content that we create here authentically.
Yep.
So anyways, all right, last thoughts, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you for tuning to the Contents Profit podcast. Go ahead and follow your show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at Biz Bros Go.
Oh, I forgot my part, dude. Yes, follow us and leave us a 5-star review. See ya. Bye, tuned out.